What if I told you that somewhere in the deepest, darkest parts of our oceans, nature decided to create the same monster twice? Two giant squids, each weighing as much as a small car, lurking in different corners of the world, and here's the crazy part, they have no idea the other one exists. Everyone knows about the giant squid. You've probably heard the old sailor stories about the kraken, that massive sea monster with tentacles as long as a ship. Well, the giant squid is real, and it can grow up to 45 feet long. That's longer than a school bus. Pretty terrifying, right? But here's what most people don't know. The giant squid isn't even the biggest squid in the world. There's another one out there called the colossal squid. And while it might be a bit shorter, it's way, way heavier. We're talking over double the weight. A giant squid weighs about 500 pounds, but a colossal squid weighs about 1,300 pounds. Now, you might think these two squids are close relatives, maybe cousins or something, but that's where things get really weird. They're not related at all, not even a little bit. They're not the same species, they're not the same genus, they're not even part of the same family. In fact, these two squids are about as related to each other as you are to a kangaroo. Humans and kangaroos had a common ancestor way, way back in time, but we look completely different, right? Yet these two squids, who are just as distantly related, ended up looking almost identical and growing to massive sizes. How is that even possible? The only thing giant squids and colossal squids share is their order. Scientists call it Oegopsida, which is just a fancy name for deep-sea squids that live in the open ocean. These are the only two squids in the entire world that grew this big. Every other squid out there is either really long but weighs almost nothing, or they're chunky but only reach about 150 pounds max. So how did two completely unrelated squids living in totally different parts of the ocean both become absolute giants? And why don't they know about each other? Let's find out. First, we need to talk about where these squids actually live. The giant squid is kind of like a world traveler. You can find them in cold, deep waters all over the planet, the North Atlantic, the North Pacific, and even around the southern parts of the world. They like to hang out in what scientists call the midnight zone, about 2,000 to 3,000 feet below the surface. That's deep enough that sunlight never reaches them. The colossal squid, on the other hand, is way pickier about where it lives. It only lives in one place, the freezing cold waters around Antarctica. We're talking about the coldest ocean water on Earth, just barely above freezing. And it goes even deeper than the giant squid, living in what's called the abyssal zone, thousands of meters down. So right off the bat, these two squids live in completely different neighborhoods. They've never bumped into each other, never fought, never even crossed paths. They literally don't know the other one exists, and that makes the mystery even stranger. To understand how this happened, we need to go way back in time. About 60 to 100 million years ago, near the end of the age of dinosaurs, there was one squid ancestor that all squids today came from. Scientists call it a primitive oegopsid squid, but honestly, we don't know much about it. And there's a good reason why. Squids are terrible at leaving fossils. They're basically just squishy bags of water with no bones at all. When a squid dies, all that soft tissue breaks down in just a few weeks. There's no way it's going to last millions of years to become a fossil. The only part of a squid that can fossilize is its beak. That's the hard, sharp part that used to bite their prey. It's made of the same stuff as insect shells, and if it gets buried quickly enough, it can last for millions of years. But that's it, just the beak. So we have to guess about what ancient squids looked like. What we do know is that at some point after the dinosaurs died out, the ancient squid family split into different groups. One branch became the Archaeotidai family, and eventually that led to the giant squid. Another branch became the Cranchididae family, also called glass squids, and that's where the colossal squid came from. Here's the important part. Neither of these squids inherited their giant size from an ancient ancestor. They each grew big on their own, completely separately. Scientists have a special name for this. They call it convergent evolution. Convergent evolution is when two totally different animals end up looking similar or doing similar things, even though they didn't learn it from a common ancestor. It's like if two people who never met each other both invented the exact same machine. They weren't copying each other, they just both needed the same solution to the same problem. And that's exactly what happened with these squids. Nature basically said, you know what works really well in the deep ocean? Being absolutely massive. So both squids, in their own separate parts of the world, evolved to become giants. But they didn't get big for exactly the same reasons, and that's where things get really interesting. The giant squid got big because of something called deep-sea giantism. This is a real thing that happens in the ocean. Animals that live in the deep sea, where it's dark and there's a lot of pressure, tend to grow larger than their shallow water cousins. Scientists aren't totally sure why, but they think it has to do with the cold water, the pressure, and the fact that there aren't as many predators down there. The colossal squid also benefited from deep-sea gigantism, but there's another reason it got so huge: polar gigantism. This is when animals that live in freezing cold water evolve to be bigger. The cold water in Antarctica is so extreme that being big actually helps you survive. A bigger body can store more energy, keep heat better, and go longer without food. So the colossal squid got a double boost, both deep-sea gigantism and polar gigantism working together. That's why it ended up being the heaviest squid in the world, even if it's not the longest. Now let's talk about how these squids actually look and hunt, because even though they're both giant squids, they're built pretty differently. The giant squid is long and sleek, like a torpedo. It's built for speed. Scientists think it can swim up to 25 miles per hour using something called jet propulsion. That's when it sucks in a huge amount of water and then shoots it out really hard, pushing itself forward super fast. It's the same way small squids move, just way more powerful. The giant squid's tentacles are incredibly long. Sometimes they can stretch out so far they nearly double the squid's total length. And those tentacles are covered with hundreds of suction cups, each one lined with tiny saw-like teeth. When a giant squid grabs onto something, those teeth dig in and won't let go. It's perfect for catching fast-moving fish in the open ocean. The colossal squid, on the other hand, is built like a tank. It's shorter, thicker, and way heavier. It's not designed for speed. It probably only swims about 12 miles per hour, but it doesn't need to be fast because it hunts in a totally different way. Instead of chasing prey around, the colossal squid just waits. It sits still in the freezing cold water and waits for something to swim by. Then, when prey gets close enough, it strikes. And here's the scary part. Its tentacles don't just have suction cups, they have hooks. Sharp, rotating hooks made of the same hard material as your fingernails. Some of its tentacles have up to 25 of these hooks, and they can swivel around to get a better grip. Imagine the difference like this. The giant squid grabs you with super strong Velcro. The colossal squid grabs you with Velcro and bear traps. Once those hooks dig into something, there's no escape. The colossal squid uses these hooks to catch giant Antarctic toothfish, which can weigh over 100 pounds. One scientist found that a single 5 kilogram, that's about 11 pounds, toothfish could keep a 500 kilogram colossal squid fed for months. That's because in the cold Antarctic water, everything moves slowly, and the squid doesn't need to burn much energy. Both squids also have beaks, and they're absolutely massive. The beak is the only hard part of a squid's body, and it works like a parrot's beak, two sharp halves that slice through muscle and bone like it's nothing. The colossal squid has the largest beak of any squid ever found. Once the beak cuts the prey into chunks, the squid uses its radula, a tongue covered in backward-pointing teeth, to grind up the food before swallowing. Now you might be wondering, what if these two squids ever met? What if a giant squid somehow wandered into Antarctic waters, or a colossal squid swam up north? Well, the truth is, they'd probably never even see each other. Even though they're both deep-sea creatures, they live at totally different depths. The giant squid lives in the midnight zone, which is still really deep and totally dark, but it's nowhere near as deep as where the colossal squid lives. The colossal squid hangs out in the abyssal zone, thousands of meters deeper. So it's kind of sad when you think about it. These two giant cousins will never know the other exists. But honestly, that's probably for the best, because if they did meet, they'd probably just try to eat each other. There is one creature, though, that knows both of them very well, and that's the sperm whale. Sperm whales are the largest toothed predators on the planet. They can dive over 6,500 feet deep. That's as deep as stacking 4.5 Empire State Buildings on top of each other. And down in that darkness, they hunt squid. Lots and lots of squid. Sperm whales have been found with scars all over their heads, round marks from giant squid suction cups, and gashes from colossal squid hooks.
And when scientists look inside the stomachs of sperm whales, they find squid beaks, lots of them. Beaks from both giant squids and colossal squids. In fact, scientists think that colossal squid make up about 75% of what sperm whales eat in the Southern Ocean. That's a lot of squid. From a sperm whale's point of view, convergent evolution is perfect. The more giant squid species that evolve, the better. More food for them. They don't care if the squid has hooks or suction cups, or if it weighs 500 pounds or 1,000. They just want a big, squishy meal. And this creates something scientists call an evolutionary arms race. The squids keep evolving to get bigger, faster, and better at avoiding predators. Meanwhile, the sperm whales keep evolving to dive deeper and hold their breath longer so they can hunt more squid. Both sides keep pushing each other to their limits. But here's the thing about convergent evolution. When two animals evolve the same solution, they usually end up with the same weaknesses too. And for both the giant squid and the colossal squid, that weakness is the sperm whale. Now, you might think stories about giant squids are just myths, but they're very real. The problem is, we almost never see them alive. Giant squids were only filmed alive for the first time in the last 10 years or so. Before that, everything we knew about them came from dead squids that washed up on beaches or got caught in fishing nets. Colossal squids are even rarer. Only a handful of adult colossal squids have ever been found, and most of those came from the stomachs of sperm whales. Scientists have almost no idea what their full life cycle looks like, or how they actually live day to day. Why are they hard to study? Two big reasons. First, the ocean is massive. Your chances of randomly running into a giant squid or a colossal squid are incredibly tiny. Second, sperm whales need to come to the surface to breathe air so we can see them, but squids don't. They can live their entire lives deep underwater and never come up. We just don't see them.
A few years ago, scientists in New Zealand got to dissect one of the largest colossal squids ever found. It was an incredibly rare opportunity. One of the scientists there, Dan Nielsen, got to examine the eyes up close. He said the hard parts of the lens alone were bigger than an entire human eye. And speaking of eyes, both squids have the largest eyes in the entire animal kingdom. We're talking about eyes that are 11 inches across, bigger than a dinner plate. No other animal has eyes that big, not even the biggest fish. At first, scientists were confused. Why would a squid need eyes that huge? But then they figured it out. Those giant eyes aren't for seeing clearly. They're for detecting one thing: sperm whales. Down in the deep ocean, everything is pitch black, but when a sperm whale swims through the water, it disturbs thousands of tiny glowing creatures called bioluminescent plankton. Those creatures light up like little sparks. A squid with huge eyes can see that pattern of lights from far away, about 120 meters, or almost 400 feet. That gives the squid just enough warning to get away before the whale arrives. It's like having a car alarm that goes off when danger is still a block away. Scientists think this might also explain why some ancient sea creatures like ichthyosaurs had such huge eyes too. Ichthyosaurs were giant marine reptiles that lived millions of years ago, and they had massive eyes just like squids. Maybe they needed them to avoid getting eaten by even bigger predators. So what does all this tell us? Well, convergent evolution isn't about nature being lazy or just copying the same design over and over. It's about finding solutions that work. And in the deep, dark, freezing oceans of our planet, being a giant just works. Could there be a third giant squid out there that we haven't found yet? Maybe. Scientists have already spotted some squids that seem to be halfway there. The Dana octopus squid, for example, can grow to about 350 pounds. The robust clubhook squid can reach 13 feet long. They're not as big as the giant or colossal squid, but they're showing signs of giantism. If you threw a bunch of squids into the deep sea and waited a few million years, who knows? We might end up with a third massive squid. Maybe we'd call it the absolutely huge squid, or the immensely large squid. Okay, maybe naming isn't our strong suit. The point is, evolution made the same giant animal twice,
Two completely different squids living in completely different oceans, never meeting, never knowing about each other, and yet they both became giants because that's what the ocean demanded. Nature didn't create the giant squid and the colossal squid to be cool monsters. It created them because in their world, being a giant is the best way to survive.